Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of your OGR, as today is game 55 as the Edmonton Oilers went up against the Chicago Blackhawks and fell in overtime 4-3 in a game where I was not very happy with the defense. Koskinen made a pretty bad turnover that ended up costing us the game. And just wasn't a beautiful display by the Edmonton Oilers. But before we get into all this, I'd like to just say, if you are new to the channel, make sure to smash that subscribe button and hit that like button as well. So let's get into this bad boy, as we got a decent amount to talk about and dissect with this team. A decent amount to talk about because, you know, there was a lot of things that happened. First of all, we still went with the 11-7. We actually thought that Cal Turris was going to be in the lineup. It was kind of the projected lineup, but it ended up not being that case where Turris got benched or scratched again. And we went with 11 forwards, 7 defensemen, and it looks like it's honestly exhausting the team a little bit, to be quite honest with you. This was a game where I didn't think we had a bad start in the first period. We definitely weren't playing amazing. Near the end, we didn't do too bad, especially when we got the 2 big goals. But going into the second period, I thought we played really good as well. And in the third period, we just didn't do anything, you know? We got some good chances, but we weren't able to throw anything in the back of the net. And I think the biggest thing in this game is just that we didn't play very well defensively. That is the biggest thing. You've seen Tyson Barrie make multiple mistakes. Duncan Keith was giving away the puck, same with Nurse. Bouchard actually had quite a good game, I do give him that, but he still wasn't phenomenal defensively, and that was mostly our entire defense growth throughout the entire night. So let's get into the scoring summary and go over all that. So the very first goal was Sam Lafferty, who got his second goal of the season, absolutely exposing our bad defense. As I don't know what the fuck Barrie and Emilina were doing in this situation. But basically, we weren't able to get it out of the zone. It kept in, it circled around. Emilina was sort of in front of the net. Barrie was battling for the puck. Of course, you know how Barrie is. Wasn't able to win the battle. We were still up alongside of the boards, though, but Nemelainen decided to join him and left the net wide open, and Lafferty took a handle of the puck and had all the time in the world and put it raped in through the 5-hole. Mikko Koskinen. Now, this kind of ticked me off watching this because Nemelainen is a defenseman. You are supposed to stay back and supposed to cover the front of the net just in case Lafferty comes in and does that. Nemelainen was supposed to let that, you know, let the winger do that. Let the winger pressure them or just wait. That was a really dumb play by Nemelainen, the challenge in that situation, and he should have just laid back and just let Tyson Barrie do his thing. Even though he was never going to get the puck, at least Nemelainen would have been playing in position, and it wouldn't have been a goal for the 4th fucking line for the Blackhawks, which was not beautiful at all. Moving forward, though, Leon Draisaitl takes back the goal-scoring race with his 38th goal of the season. Now, this was a pretty nice goal in our power play, which is still struggling. We're definitely going to be getting into this as well. Our power play is still immensely struggling, and we were actually able to score one. This was a really good play by McDavid and Draisaitl. Draisaitl got a handle of it, gave it right back over to McDavid. Fleury was screened and set up Draisaitl for an absolute bomb of a 1-T to tie the game up at 1. And then, of course, Patrick Kane got his 17th goal of the season. Now, this defensive play, I can't even remember what it was now. I should remember because I just watched, oh, yes. This is something that Nurse does a lot where he, like, when he's on his offhand, he, like, tries to flick it up with his backhand, but he never has enough punch on it to get it out of the zone. So, of course, it doesn't leave the zone, and it leaves him massively out of position instead of making the smart play and just kind of banking it off the boards and then Barrie going and picking it up, right? That would be the smart play, especially since you have Patrick Kane on your ass. You would think that you would not make a dumb play, especially since Patrick Kane doesn't know what defense is or forechecking in general. So if Nurse was just able to bounce off the boards, maybe give it to Barrie or whatever, just leave it to someone to pick it up. But, you know, he decides to ring it out of the boards, and of course it stayed in. And gave a really good chance for the Chicago Blackhawks, and he put Kane's 17th goal of the season in the back of the net, which was not beautiful at all, and definitely not something we wanted to see. And then Evander Kane comes right back with his 6th goal of the season. Beautiful pass by Draisaitl to set him up as he tapped that one right in the back of the net. And then nothing happened in the second period. It was pretty dead. Going into the third period, of course, Dominic Kubalik with a freebie for Mikko Koskinen as he did not look and gave it right to Kubalik to start off the third period and put us down 3-2. And then the rest of the game, we just looked emotionless. This was just a team that looked exhausted, didn't play the game that they were supposed to play, and just didn't play phenomenal. Like, they weren't playing good at all. And then until, like, 50 seconds remaining, Evander Kane gets his 7th goal of the season as he punches it right into the back of the net. And really nice pass from McDavid as well. It was just a tough game to watch, and then you head into overtime. Draisaitl takes an unfortunate trip and penalty. We were doing really good on the PK, but, when you have DeBrincat, Kane, and a lot of good forwards out there for the Blackhawks, you're not going to really be able to do too much as they were just passing circles around us. We were making some big blocks, but then, they still kept to handle the puck, and Kane made a beautiful pass to set up DeBrincat for his 30th of the season as he buries into the back of the net. And that was it for the Edmonton Oilers as we lost 4-3 in overtime. Now, we did get a point out of this, which was massive. We got into a wild card spot with that 1 point. But this was a game where I thought we definitely needed to win, and we should have won. We outplayed the team, but it seemed near the end we weren't able to put in the back of the net, and it seemed like we were a little exhausted. Is this 11-7 really going to keep it up, or are we going to change back to the 12-6? It seems like Woodcroft and Manson have been really enjoying it, and I haven't minded it. The 11-7 has worked quite well, but it seems like with the amount of injuries we're having and playing these depth players in a lot of minutes, it doesn't seem to be working out very well for us. And I think we definitely need to go back to the 12-7. It's just you're going to be putting Turris in the lineup or Perlini, and those guys weren't playing very beautiful either. Now, there wasn't a lot of, beautiful players to talk about. I think we'll talk about the defense first. Tyson Barrie and Nurse, I still don't understand why people put this pairing together. Now, Darnell Nurse has been a better defenseman this year. He's been a really good two-way guy. Vastly improved his defensive game, so I don't mind it as much as, I hated it last year. But it's still not a good pairing. It really isn't. Darnell Nurse and Tyson Barrie still play very aggressive games, and they don't belong beside each other. Now, Barrie did fall to an injury, so we most of the night seen, I think, Nurse and Ceci play alongside of each other, which I did like. I think that was mainly the pairing that they had set up for Nurse. I know Nurse did play alongside of Bouchard, but yeah, Nurse and Ceci played throughout the majority of the night. They weren't phenomenal defensively either. They had kind of a rough night. And I was the same with Duncan Keith. I mean, the guy took like fucking 7 shot attempts and only had 1 on the net. He was rifling the puck, and he seemed like he got a lot of minutes, 20 minutes and 45 seconds, which I still do not like. But when you have Nemelainen and Legason, who, Legason played all right. I thought he was one of our better defenders throughout the entire night. Didn't really make any mistakes. He was moving the puck quite nice and playing really well defensively, no matter who he was playing alongside of. And then especially since you lose Barrie, you're having to rely on the top 4 a little bit more. But Bouchard did really good alongside of Duncan Keith. I thought Bouchard had a really good game defensively, was playing really smart, making some really nice passes. It's just whenever you were giving the puck to Duncan Keith, he was making the dumbest passes. Like, he was on the blue line. It was 2 minutes remaining. This was a big offensive opportunity, and he sent it right out of his zone. He was going to make a pass over to Bouchard and sent it a fucking mile away. It's just, it's so mind-boggling. Like, I cannot believe we still believe that Duncan Keith is a top 4 guy, because he really isn't. And it looks like Woodcroft is not going to transform this guy around. And Duncan Keith is just in generally bad. It is good to see that he returned back to Chicago, but he just did not look very good in this game. Made not too bad defensive moves, to be quite honest with you, but his offensive game really was rough throughout the night. Wasn't making the passes that he needed to make, and wasn't looking very good for the Edmonton Oilers. Otherwise, Nemelainen had a bit of a rough night. Legason looked good. Bouchard, like I was saying, looked really, really good. I was really impressed by him. I know I haven't talked and hyped up Darnell Nurse enough yet this year, but Darnell Nurse has really been a great defenseman for the Edmonton Oilers. He's been a top guy for us, playing really well defensively. He's stepped up his defensive game massively, and still sticking it up with his offensive game as well, which is really impressing me. Darnell Nurse has 23 points in 48 games. He even looks pretty good on the power play, and I would like to see him a little bit more on the top power play unit, because I know they've been playing Barrie, but I'd rather see either Bouchard or Nurse up on that top power play unit before even Barrie touches it. Moving on to the forward core now, though. Of course, we only really seen the 2 lines stay together. The top 6, of course, Fogle, McDavid, and Hyman, which didn't have a mad night. I thought Hyman and McDavid were doing pretty good. Fogel didn't have a bad night either, just, you know, not able to handle the puck like ever. And then Draisaitl, Kane, and Yamamoto, they also looked quite well. You kind of seen Yamamoto jump into the third line as well throughout the night. But I thought they did pretty well. They were generating a little bit of offense. Yamamoto was taking another beating in this game, was getting hammered. But I thought he played really well defensively. I thought Ryan McLeod continues to play amazing. He got double shifted a pretty good amount throughout the night. He played 18 minutes and 30 seconds, kind of getting that Nuge time. And he's really doing really well with it. He's looking really nice. Wasn't able to generate a whole lot of offense, but played really simply good defensively. And I liked him throughout the night. Skeever had a rough night. Shore didn't look very good. And Brad Malone also didn't have a good night. Just our depth has been having a rough few nights, especially since, you know, we're missing Nuge. We're missing Puljujärvi. Just so many injuries are listing up on our forward core that we're having to rely a little bit more on these depth guys. And that Shore, Malone, or I think it was Shore, McLeod, and what's his face? Derek Ryan, they were together, and I just really did not like Devin Shore alongside of that line. It looked like they were missing Nuge big time, and I definitely am excited to kind of see us hopefully be back to full bill of health and actually have a deep offensive core and not having to rely on our top six so much, because that's been the way that it's been over these past few games. Koskinen had a good night, I think. You know, he let in a couple rough ones, especially that Kubalik one was almost unforgivable. That was a really rough one that he gave up, but honestly, he was really good. It's just we made some really bad defensive mistakes, and same with Chicago. It's just we weren't able to capitalize as much as they were capitalizing on us. So, rough game for the Edmonton Oilers, but it is what it is. We'll take the L, but we did get the point out of it. So, hopefully, we win on Saturday against the Montreal Canadiens, because that is definitely a must-win, in my opinion. We need that win to actually give us a little bit of momentum, especially since Vegas lost last night. We needed this win tonight, but, you know, we lost it, of course, whip-de-doo, like we do every fucking time when we face a bad team. We just cannot score goals, and Marc-Andre Fleury was playing absolute stellar as well, to note on that. But for now, guys, I'm going to end the video here. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and I'll see you guys all later. Adios, amigos.